Part 5, feeling too alive. Too alive, 2 plus 5, that is 7. I'm your host, the Severing 7, also known as Thoth, the spiritual individual, also known as Tehuti Trismegistus. This is Tablet Talks. Here we are, decolonizing, decoding, and deciphering the secret key to the Emerald Tablets. Written, transcribed by this lady named Rebecca, who, honestly, in my opinion, has just done a good job putting out some nice content so far for us to dissect. Now, again, she's not actually talking to me or Seshat, so those are still lies. But the point is, this specific weaponized truth, I like the truth in it so far. Let's keep going. Chapter 11. Silence is golden. From Tablet 3, verse 7. In the original translation from the Atlantean language, Thoth said, "Silence is of great profit. An abundance of speech profiteth nothing." Thoth's commentary in modern English. Knowing when to keep silent is a marker of great wisdom. Talking incessantly is of no value, and wears the patience thin. This is facts. So, all right, and let's break this down. Why? Why is silence of great profit? This is basically, this would be Thoth talking about, so the best example is like a business person or someone who's telling you about all their grand plans. Like, I can fall into this as a Gemini. So I'm sure I'm perceived this way by people in my life. Where one can talk about doing grand plans so much that they actually spend their energy, they spend their soul just blowing off steam instead of actually building a structure about it. And this is like the weird thing with element bending when we're talking about like building life, because it does go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that 3 is communication, 4 is a structure. You do have to talk about things before they're built. So it is important that you do talk with people in your life. It isn't saying don't talk about your ideas. The thing is, it's there's a big difference in going external with your ideas versus going internal. And what Thoth is talking about here is actually going internal with your ideas and not showing them externally until they show themselves. And that would be you taking your idea and not turning it into air, but letting it stay as water and then holding it in water until that water becomes earth. And then that would be all based on how you're communicating with yourself to keep that structure in place. That takes a lot of self-belief. So people who need to keep talking about their ideas, a lot of the time it's because they require validation from others. And the thing is, if you require validations from your environment, you're really like never going to get anywhere. Because the point of you as a spirit, almost certainly then going into that environment, is that you have to change it in the way that only you as an individual can. So if you're looking for the validation of others, or if you're looking for them to like support you, even like if you're looking for others' support before you support yourself, then you're never going to get anywhere. You're going to be at the whim of the world around you, because the world around you is the support. You're supposed to believe in yourself so much that you create your own structure that others believe will support them if they believe in it as well. Now, a lot of the time when people are talking a lot, let's say you're talking to someone who just keeps telling you about their app ideas. App ideas are a fantastic example. So you've got a younger cousin and he keeps talking to you about this app that he wants to start and how much money it'll make. Or a rapper, right? You got this rapper cousin and he keeps talking to you about how he could be making better music than everyone. He keeps talking about how he could be a better rapper than everyone. Yet you never see him come out with music. You never see him come out with a mixtape. You never see him come out with any kind of content or any art on his own. He just keeps actually talking about how he could be better. This is what Thoth is describing. Like these are the people that motivate me to not be that way. Because I've interacted with a lot of artists like that over life, where they're so in their ego, they're so in their fire, and using their fire to ignite their water into air so that they communicate how they could be a better imagination than all the imaginations around them, that they never actually turn that into earth. Like that air is only like then watering you, but they're not watering themselves. They kind of are, but if they were, they would be talking internally and not with you, not bringing it to you. If they were really watering themselves and creating life, instead they would bring to you the product of the idea that they're talking about, aka a mixtape, aka the actual app that he keeps advertising, right? Like, so this is the point of the difference when we're talking about taking your idea into air, which is just water nurturing the external world, versus taking your idea into earth, which is a structure nurturing your internal world. It's like, and it's different. Because like that earth also supports the external world. Because if it supports your internal world, the internal is created from the external. So that's going to support the external as well. So a great example of this is money. Most people feel like they can't really show up fully to the relationships in their life if they don't have money, because money is a representation of their water turning into earth. It is a representation of their infinite feelings turning into something stable that they can rest their infinite feelings on. So now they can afford to go out and do whatever they want on any whim and have their own water cycle and just be free, because they have that earth stability. And then that translates to stability for everyone else around them based on how they interact with them. So this is the importance of knowing when to stay silent. Because the more you keep silent and meditate and formulate your stuff, you're in Virgo mode. So Hermes, that's my Gemini me. Hermes can get lost in spreading ideas, in being so much of a messenger for ideas that Hermes doesn't actually build his own structure. Now Thoth, pyramids. We're about to ascend. Like, and that's the Virgo. Like, I love earth. So I love air and earth. You feel me? But this is the point of earth, is that it's silent. It's not communicating. It is the communication. Whereas air is communicating. It's like, actively communicating. Earth just like is that. It's the platform for everything else to happen. And that's the point of being stable. That's why the spirit likes to create stability, likes to create a body, because the spirit is too infinite for its own good, basically. And that's the point of why we have bodies and we can have insanely chaotic imaginations, right? We're literally too active, too chaotic for our own good. So the point of creating a body in any kind of realm is to stabilize your chaos onto earth and then learn how to manage it in this two-way relationship of you as a spirit projecting into this body, and then you as a body developing a relationship with you, your spirit. Because your spirit is just unaware. Your body is the awareness. And then it takes the subconscious middle ground to make that happen. Hence the 3. So your spirit, nothing. Your subconscious, water. Your body is the earth. Seshat contributes her wisdom. Only in silence can the true wisdom of the heart be brought forward. When one is constantly speaking, there is no time for reflection. As one learns to be calm and quiet, inner wisdom has a clear path to surface. Constant input and output, with no time left for silence, is detrimental to the soul. Constant input and output with no time left for silence is detrimental to the soul. This is facts. Because the soul is the vibrational way that your spirit speaks with itself, and thus all of its creations that the soul has then made. And that would be the body. So that's the point of actually being silent so you can listen to yourself. The more you consume from the world, the more you're becoming of the world. So this is why fasting is everything. All right, I love fasting. Fasting is everything. Fasting is how you become way more infinite because you're getting in touch with your own vibe instead of feeling like you need to rely on all these physical energy things that generally the light white supremacist government has made readily available for you to poison yourself with. And then you carry their vibration and their frequency, and now you're literally trapped in the world. Like, the more you eat, the more you're trapped in the world. This is why Jesus had to fast 40 days alone before he actually became the Jesus that anyone was talking about, for real. Like, before he actually became self-realized and was actively using his supernatural abilities to alter the landscape until the Roman government sacrificed him. And then made everyone work jobs and use money to worship the idea of going to their heaven. Pride cometh before the fall. We are in chapter 12 from tablet 3, verse 12. In the original translation from the Atlantean language, Thoth said, "Exalt not thine heart above the children of men, lest it be brought lower than the dust." So what that means already, I was about to say, like, don't put your individuality ahead of the collective. That's where we literally get into true narcissism energy. So, like, the U.S. government, for example, is only a narcissistic entity, and thus everyone who really adamantly supports it is the same as well, because they're all about putting their individual idea of whiteness ahead of indigenous peoples and just the entire planet that they actively work to colonize and steal resources from. Even in Marvel Comics, Captain America's shield, the symbol of America, is fundamentally made on stolen metal from Africa. And this is all in a concept of a world where they're lying to make indigenous peoples feel like they're from Africa. Logic is wild, the ability to just make things up. All right, so you need to know that wisdom is a soul. That's why the last part was really important. Your soul is your wisdom, your individual feeling, your individual perspective in the universe, like your role. That is wisdom, your feeling. And how you connect with yourself, not just feelings like your body being at the whim, but how your spirit connects with your body and thus all of its creations. Because this universe is an extension really of, it has to be of us. We have to create the universe first before we create bodies in it to experience ourselves inside of something. So it's really important to have your perspective in check. And this is why, you wouldn't want to also even exalt yourself, quote unquote, or make yourself as an individual seem like you're greater than the environment that you chose to create with other individuals, because you're messing up. You're exposing yourself. Like, you just showed us that you are truly a narcissist. And it's really easy for narcissists to point out that, like, oh, you're a narcissist, because, like I just said, this U.S. government in general is a narcissistic entity. And thus, people who actively, happily support it are incredibly narcissistic. And they rely on not appearing that way. So we can even get more specific to Christians. The point of a Christian living the idea that they're going to go to heaven because they accept the sacrifice of Jesus Christ allows them to feel like they're better than everyone and thus be narcissistic, like incredibly narcissistic. This is how the America was created. All of North, South, and Central America was created through the Christian mindset of, oh, well, as an individual, I'm way better than these people because I'm more connected to God. So now I can rape and murder and spread genocide anywhere I want and build systems on consistently doing that in Jesus's name because I feel like it. And that's the wisdom. All right. So all religions are the knowledge. That's the made up logic for spirits to do what they want to do, to feel like doing what they want to do. It's just like, how do we become a convict? How do we convince ourselves to trap ourselves in our own hell of feeling like we want to get lost and chase these desires in a repeating legion of demons, aka a religion? And then that's how the government controls people, by building these legions and then having all these repeating legions of demons. And then they're making all this money off of these repeating legions of demons. So it's incredibly demonic, as we see with white supremacy, to believe that as an individual, you are better than the collective of just Earth, or like you're better than any life, because that inherently means that you're going to become toxically masculine and start consuming life. Because the moment you think you're better, you're now going to become detached. And when you become detached, you stop creating. You're not in that feminine collective energy of collaboration. You're now in that masculine energy of consuming what has already been created through collaboration. Hence why the Industrial Revolution, white supremacy, can only focus on using indigenous peoples and the slavery to steal their bodies and their lands and their governments and all their concepts in order to build their world. Because like the only way that white people can perceive of creating life is to consume the life of black people, which they made up to steal indigenous peoples from their spiritual truth that they are the ones creating life. Yo, boo. Do not think that you are greater or more exalted than any other man or woman. When you enter into a sense of false pride, you are an easy target for self-humiliation. That's right. Everything I just said. You expose yourself in the shared space. Because then spirits are like, yo, like, where do you, like, we're all infinite individuals who are choosing to create together. Like, you're messing, like, you're just showing that you feel like you're better for what? Because now this is where the humiliation comes in. You expose yourself. You're now like, people are just about to make fun of you really hard. Because whatever you think you're better than other people for, you're not. Know this, you're not greater than or less than any other being, right? Perhaps you may be in a different place energetically. Now that's fair. So when we talk about vibration and freedom, with projection being perception, I'll listen to other people. I don't conclude that I'm better than others, but others tell me that I'm better than them. And that's where you get the projection of narcissism energy, where people are like, oh, you think you're better than us? And it's like, no, but you do. Or else you would not have said it with that much emotion. And that especially started happening to me as Chase when I started fasting in this lifetime. Fasting clearly is a consistent thing for me. It's Tehuti. It's everything spiritually. So that's where in this lifetime I got inspired to fast because I was forced to worship Jesus and forced to believe that I was full of sin and going to go to hell if I didn't ride Jesus' dick for all of eternity, because that's what I was forced to believe growing up. And I was forced by the people in my life to go to systems and buildings where I had to do and learn about all that and everything. So when I finally decided to start walking in his footsteps, all of a sudden the people who are worshiping him were telling me not to do what he's telling us to do. And that's where I really started to see that most of these Christians, most people in religions, they're only trying to talk the talk. They're not trying to walk the walk. Because if they were trying to walk the walk, then chances are they wouldn't really be in that religion anyway. Because then it's like the point of accepting Jesus' sacrifice, from what I was talking and seeing from adults, still hear from adults. They're like, oh, well, the point is that Jesus fasted, so we don't have to. Like, that's impossible now. Humans aren't supposed to fast. All this logic about why we're not supposed to do what Jesus did. We're only supposed to worship him and the government that killed him. So that's where then, as I continue to fast, people will be like, oh, you think you're God? Well, you think you're better than everyone? You think you're like so great in that? And it's like, whoa. I mean, I don't think that, but maybe I should. Maybe I should. Always return to the heart and be in the space of mercy and tenderness for all. Seshat contributes her wisdom. It can be easy to feel like you're better than your brothers and sisters, especially if you have spent a lot of time in meditation and prayer. But this is simply your ego coming forth. It is times like these when you realize just how far you still have to go in your evolution. And the ego is desire. So a lot of people desire to be better than others. This is where it's important to realize that you don't desire to be better than others. You desire to be better than yourself. And others will react to you based on their space. So this is why spirituality is individuality. And we learn about all of ourselves, all of each other as individuals and who we are as individuals. Because really, we're all using each other to talk to ourselves. So that's where when I'm fasting, like if I let someone get, and that was like kind of happening for a bit till I broke through that. If I let like the people in my life, the adults, whoever, like all these older people who are supposedly smarter and way more intelligent and whatever than I am, tell me that I shouldn't be fasting because it's unhealthy and that I'm crazy. And like I actually absorbed all the negative things that they were saying about fasting and thus about me, and then actually took to heart their judgments about like, oh, like you think you're Jesus, like you think you're better than me, you think you're better than the world, like you think you don't have to eat, like are you crazy, like you're mentally unstable, you know, like all that stuff. Then I would not have truly connected with myself. I would have let the psychological warfare of this world stop me from getting in touch with my true spirit, which is the point of religions, right? All these religious people telling me I shouldn't be fasting like the person that they worship every day because we're not supposed to do that anymore. Yo, what? And then while they're saying we're not supposed to do that anymore, I'm only scientifically seeing how climate change and cancer and all these health problems that humans have are being created from over consuming poisons. So it's just like, bro, be an individual. Don't let anyone tell you shit. All right, please. Do not let the world tell you shit. You as an infinitely powerful spirit, you purposefully put yourself in situations where the environment is against you just so you can learn how to truly be for yourself. And the more you learn how to be for yourself, then you create things for your future. And then that's where you become a spirit that is before others. And that's how they perceive you as being before them, because you're being for yourself. You're creating that earth inside of yourself to structurize your water like we're talking about, which allows you to create life. 2 + 4 is 6. So when you B is the second letter of the alphabet. So 2 + 4 is 6. B is water. That's the body. So regardless, when you're actually doing that, other spirits will see you and then perceive you as being B4 because they're going to perceive you as being ahead of them. They're going to perceive you as being ahead of the curve. And that's where they're going to start saying, oh, are you better than me? You think you're better? And then they're going to try and use the reverse psychology of calling you a narcissist or calling you just, yeah, I mean, a narcissist is like the main label that English has to sort of weaponize against spirits who love themselves. Because this simulation, this white supremacist world is so focused on making you feel unworthy and making you hate yourself because they hate themselves. And the only reason you would connect with them is if they made you feel worse than they feel internally. So now you feel like you're of sin and you're horrible and you can't do anything right and you need their God to feel fulfilled, when really that's how they feel, and they had to teach you to feel that way when you wouldn't feel that way on your own. If you're fasting, if you were not reading all their stuff and living in their world that they colonize the planet to create, then you would feel way better about yourself. When I fast, I feel way better about myself. And it's like consistent. Like that's why I just have to. I love fasting. It's forever. It's always. It's my past. It's my future. It's always. Like fasting is everything, dude. Fasting is the wisdom. This is what I'm talking about. Like fasting is you not eating anything from the world, so you can actually catch the true vibes from your spirit and truly create life in your image. Because your body is the portal, the conduit for your spirit interacting into this physical world. And that's how the spiritual realm is constantly creating the physical world. Because every body that you see is created from the spiritual world through the astral realm. So yeah, very important to not think you're better than others because you're truly just playing yourself. The point is that you need to be better than yourself. And that's where when you're before yourself, when you when you create life inside of yourself with that B4, that 2-4, you have six inside of yourself, then other people perceive you as better than them based on their own perception. So this is why, like, because I don't like golf, I literally can't perceive someone who plays golf really well is better than me because they're not being B4. They're not ahead of me in a space that I would like to excel at. Now, if I see a super professional breakdancer, right? Or if I see like a wild, crazy martial artist just display incredible moves, beating the ever-living life out of 50 people at the same time, and it's not a movie, then those would be people that I would perceive as better than me. And it's not that they're actually better than me, but they are before me in a field that I would also like to excel in. So this is why all emotions are important. Like when white supremacy is like, oh, darkness, and they have such a negative relationship with their own emotions. They're running away from themselves, and that's why they can only kill and murder and enslave and grape and spread genocide. Notice I say grape because it's something is up with grape. I mean, obviously, this language, there's no coincidence. So it's like something Greek with grape and rape. Interesting. I say grape to keep it a little more kid friendly, or also just really for YouTube, since these will be on YouTube, and just like censorship in general. Although obviously I'm breaking it down now, but hey. Open communication. All right. This is for us to level up. No one should be able to tell us what to say. Like, we should be able to tell ourselves what to say. Like, that's what it is. So, I mean, and that's the point of government. The point of government is to govern the mental states of everyone involved so that they can maintain their own order. So, I mean, no one's saying it's not necessary. This is just the way the world is. The only reason that you would think a word is bad is because the entities that created your language and are ruling over, thus the mind state that you're operating under their language, have deemed those as bad. So white people love to say the N-word, right? This country was born, it was bred on the N-word and using the N-word to erase the cultures of indigenous peoples. Now it's a bad word just because they had to address that they were so evil for so long, but they had to continue being evil because, like, that's the only way they built the country. So it's just about being like, hey, this is a bad word. And now everyone can, like, emotionally feel like, specifically, this is like a whole funny thing. White people can feel like they're oppressed because now they can't say words that they used to be able to say, because those were the words that they used to oppress Native Americans. And now they're like, why can't we oppress Native Americans with these words anymore? Now I feel oppressed because I used to have the freedom to oppress others, but now I don't have as much freedom to oppress others anymore, so I'm oppressed. That's the logic of white people. It's pretty wild. And so, yeah, all this, right? I'm saying all this because of the ego. All right, this ego thing, this is what individuality, toxic masculinity, fiery individuality looks like in a collective space. It looks like white supremacy. Hence this language and why we're doing tablet talks, my guy. Man. Thing is, I have no judgment in that way. Like, because the point of view as a spirit stepping into this collective space is that you came to learn things with us that you can't learn on your own. This is why teamwork makes the dream work. We all have our own individual perspective. We all have our own infinite ideas in our collective part of the universe. And it's pretty awesome when we're actually able to come together and share and express that. This is why white supremacy, Nazis, for example, Christians, for example, are so focused on using censorship to stop indigenous peoples and just stop spiritual people, and then really just stop their population from communicating about anything. that doesn't directly correlate to what the government wants them to communicate about. That's the point of censorship, as we know. It's an ego trying to control the spirit, basically, because the externalization of spirit is air, it's communication. So anyone who desires to censor is trying to control the spirit, and the spirit does not like to be controlled. This is why the moment someone is told not to talk to someone, like there's that bad boy in school, and a girl tries to warn the other girl, like, hey, don't mess with him, he's bad, or he'll break your heart. That girl immediately gets like 3 times more interested. She's like, oh, will he? Maybe I can change him. And then we have a storyline and life continues. So yeah, it doesn't work out controlling the communication of others, because what really ends up happening is that people are just bound to communicate about how you control their communication, and you mess yourself up. So the point is, everything being so individual, focus on yourself, be for yourself, create earth inside of yourself, and then others will expose themselves and expose how they feel about what you're doing based on what they say about you. And like they'll only like judge it because like people have to be in that ego space, especially if they love living in the United States of America and they don't really care about how it was built or how it got here, then they are like truly narcissistic. And they can only make themselves feel better by putting down others and judging you. And by saying that, you shouldn't fast, you're crazy, that's like the wrong thing to do, they are exposing to themselves that they need to fast, clearly, but they have negative feelings about it and they don't really want to. Or else they wouldn't be feeling so negatively about expressing that to you, basically. So that's where people then have to be in like, you're wrong, like you're this and you're that. And it would be up to you over time of being with them to discern whether that's truly a projection of who they are or a projection of what they've dealt with in the past. Because this is the thing with perception being projection, actually. Because I think a lot of people get confused with that. Like they can easily use it to mean like, oh, you're saying that because you're projecting, and you're projecting then because that's what you're trying to create. And it's like, there's much more to projection than that. Like there's of course like the opposite side, which is fears. So like if you're projecting something, it can be either from the masculine place of desire or the feminine place of a demon, which is something that you don't desire. So like, just because, for example, you're dealing with a situation where someone says that you're projecting and you're projecting this, so it must mean that that's how you feel, and they then go with that. That kind of sucks if they're really wrong, because like they could very well be wrong. This is a thing, like projection very much comes from perceiving traumas based in the past. So if you're someone who has genuinely dealt with abuse, like let's say you've been punched a lot in your household, and like you've been slapped a lot, like you've just been hit a lot, that doesn't mean when someone raises their hand at you and you flinch that you want to be hit. Like if like it would be kind of messed up if that person was like, whoa, were you thinking I was going to hit you? Were you really projecting onto me that I was going to hit you? Like you would really think I would do that? Oh my gosh, I would never want to hit you. What? No. How dare? In fact, hold up. If you think that I want to hit you, then that must mean that you want me to hit you. Or else you wouldn't have done that. See how like projection is perception gets way too messy in that way? Like it's never black and white. It's about really, again, communication. Because communication, air, is a balance of fire and water. So that is where it would take more communication to learn, like, okay, that person doesn't want to get hit. they just dealt with getting hit a lot in the past. Spiritually, did they create those situations for themselves? Possibly, but they don't feel like it. Even if they did, the point of the spirit creating traumas and problems is that it doesn't feel like it created them, because that's the only way it can truly learn. So this is the point of a simulation, right? You chose to sit down and play a video game, which means that you're actively choosing to then tackle all the problems that that game is going to throw at you. You're not even consciously aware of all the problems that game is going to throw at you, but you are creating the circumstances for you to play that game, and you desire to keep playing that game. So, boom. For this reason, please have mercy on those you see around you who are struggling to evolve spiritually. Hold the mirror up to your own face first before judging others. Right. It is true that light workers can tend to get into a space of feeling superior. Yes. Light is separation. So light workers, right? If you're a dark worker, you want to be feeling superior. The more you're in your darkness, the more you just have to know that everything's connected. Like everything is nothing then feeling and then experiencing and then projecting feeling into those experiences, which is why we have infinite experiences, and we're using all these experiences to accumulate or hammer in a certain feeling of who we truly are. So with light being separation, light workers are lost in narcissism. So this is why I also like not about light, and it's truly a projection of like white supremacy. Light is just how we naturally look because we're all individuals. But darkness is what connects us. Darkness is the feeling, like that's the feminine, like that's the collective. That's actually caring about others that aren't you. That's actual empathy. Like, because giving true empathy to others is actually giving true empathy to yourself, because you know as a spirit that you're creating the circumstance for you to connect with others. And the better life others have, the better of a life you have. It's just that light white supremacists, light white workers are so focused on making their life better because their internal life is so negative that they can only perceive making their life better by making other people's lives worse. Hence, slavery. Man, it's pretty wild. Perhaps they feel more advanced because they dedicate an hour or two to each day to meditation. This is lost. See, like, this is lostness. Like, I wouldn't have Seshat on that at all. She wouldn't be on this light worker stuff. She is clearly going to be on the same wave of me when, like, I'm communicating like this. And I'm like, bro, like, no, she's not going to be being like, especially as the woman. Like, as the woman, she's not going to be the one more in narcissistic energy of like that masculine energy. That does no, she's even more in the darkness and the collective and its sleepy astral realm. Sleepy Seshat. Like you're capping right now. Light work, it must be because they meditate. Meditate on what? Light? You're blinded. Meditation is neither light nor darkness. Now we're talking about clairvoyance, which is just clarity. That's nothing. Like that's actually no thoughts or feelings. That's detachment. That's the point. That's remembering you're the spirit. Like when you're stressed out or just even in general, like meditating is you remembering that you're the spirit and getting back to the spirit space. And then from there, you can fully create life because you're not at the whim of the environment. You're not at the whim of what's already been created and what you may feel like you're not creating. You cannot truly know what any brother or sister does, knows, or believes within their own heart. And that's the point of why all imaginations are separate. Your flame cannot be tamed. All of our flames are separated by space. So us as spirits, we are all infinite nothingness. So we're paradoxically connected yet separate. And then it takes us desiring to separate ourselves to then, boom, express our individuality, but that means we also have to connect with ourselves because we can't just go out without going in. So that's actually where like the astral realm, the waters gets created, the feminine gets created before we go out. We have to go in before we go out because the spirit is much more feminine, much more a container type entity than a going out type entity, which is why then everything exists inside of spirit. And the spirit is nothing but that expresses itself as the cosmos, so all these individuals can play. That's the point of a womb or a room. It can be easy to feel like you're a better, yeah, whatever. You can, yeah, absolutely. So imaginations, none of our imaginations can touch. If you find a twin flame, your twin flame is someone whose imagination is opposite and harmonious to yours in a way that is like truly balanced and truly beautiful. It doesn't mean that you're both the same spirit. You're still individual spirits. It just means that you as spirits have created enough circumstances where you have learned and built up these lessons to actually be this tight, basically. Chapter 13. What will you be known for? From Tablet 3, verse 13. In the original translation from the Atlantean language, Thoth said, "If thou be great among men, be honored for knowledge and gentleness." Thoth's commentary in modern English. Not for knowledge, but wisdom. All right. And gentleness, yeah, I vibe with that. Thoth's commentary in modern English, the gentle giant type vibes. If you desire to be known as a great man or a great woman, let people see your gentleness, yet let people share freely in the knowledge that you have accumulated. Okay, so knowledge then would be like the physical representation or of just like the earth, all the made up stuff. Knowledge is the earth, wisdom is the water. Yes, let people share freely in the knowledge that you have accumulated. Lording knowledge over people will never prove that you are a great person. Facts. They have their own knowledge. Everyone is their own knowledge. You have your own infinite library. Like, come on, like, absolutely. It makes no sense. Perhaps people will fear you, yet they will not come to you for counsel. Always go back to your own heart and look for guidance to your own purpose. Why are you here? Are you here to be known as someone great? Or to be known as someone who truly reached others through the wisdom and gentleness of your heart? Seshat contributes her wisdom. It takes a great heart to realize the importance of showing your wisdom along with gentleness. To have a gentle heart does not equate with having a weak heart or being a pushover. Gentleness means to handle people, life, animals, the earth, and all that you encounter with a gentle approach, aka a feminine approach, a collective approach, a watery approach, right? Like Bruce Lee. So Bruce Lee, he's a gentle dude and he can lay it down. Like when you're gentle, that's like you're the closest to spirit because you're almost formless, which really means that your form molds to the form of others. That's what it means to be gentle. That's what it means to really move like water and thus be way more in that feminine collective energy. Those who truly know will see that a person is willing to seek the way. Well, those who truly know will see that a person is willing to will see that a person willing to seek the gentle way, lol, is far more powerful than one who would go about as a roaring lion. Right, roaring lion, Leo, ego, pure fire, right? Like we got, like the roaring lion is the Leo, like it is the most expressive yet destructive zodiac sign because it's just all about projecting its own imagination and transforming the entire environment to serve itself, because that's what fire is transformation. So especially Leo being fixed fire, it's like everything, like if I do not see you, if you don't perceive me, like if you have to reflect my light back to me, like that's how Leo works. That's the difference between light and darkness. So light is literally narcissism because you can only see yourself. You're blinded by yourself. You're blinded by your own light. Whereas when you're in your darkness, now it looks like the night sky where you can see all these lights around you. And that actually allows you to connect with other spirits, because now you can go to one of those lights and go meet whoever is shining that light. Because the point is, it's all light, as in it's all chi. The blackness just represents the space, the womb for us to be individuals. Again, it's just we're creating this container as well with our souls. So any one soul is a representation of all the souls creating that soul. And that's all just water cycle stuff. Those who truly know will see that a person willing to seek the gentle way. Cool. It takes more power to see life through the non-threatening eyes of a gentle heart than to always be poised to force your will upon others. Again, Leo. No, I mean, no shade on Leos. It's just literally like, this is the energy. This is the point. Like, that's the Leo zodiac sign is the most egotistic, narcissistic, and fiery, forceful sign. It's fixed fire. It's like the point of it. True power is found within yourself. It includes your confidence in your own abilities, your own divinity. True power never feels threatened. Sit with this guidance. Pass it through the filter of your own heart. Be still and know. Look, there is wisdom in this. Like, actually, for this episode of Sexy Six, I do like this. Like, this is actually some sexy six in terms of having Thoth and Seshat here and having both perspectives. So having the man and the woman both communicate to share their ideas on these chapters. And like the chapters are like in a simple, helpful way, are positioned in a simple, helpful way. This is nice for like just anyone to pick up and read if they really don't know shit. This would be helpful for sure. Again, it's all based in a lie. We did not authorize this. They're using our names and using our creations and our identities to push this light white supremacist agenda. Hence the light workers thing. Again, we just know weaponized truth. It is in here. True power is found within yourself. It includes your confidence in your own abilities, your own divinity. True power never feels threatened. This is a fact. True power never feels threatened. That's where no matter how great or how awesome someone else appears, you should never feel threatened if you truly love yourself. Just appreciate that, knowing that they're an individual like you. And you know, like it, and then it's fine. Like life goes on. And like it truly takes someone who doesn't want to focus on themselves and their own art to actually get lost in jealous energy. Basically. They're actually like so feminine. They're reacting to their environment to where they can only then really feel like, or I don't want to say imagine, but it's just like all these dudes. So, okay. Well, I'm dealing with guys who are jealous and like they start to show that to me. They start to get negative at me because their girlfriend is vibing with me. And it's even, you know, like if the girlfriend is like vibing with me, whatever, but I don't care about your relationship. I don't ever want to interact with a girl who's in a relationship. That's not attractive to me. Like I'm already not attracted to like certain energy in women, no matter what they look like. So the energy of them being with another dude and then wanting to be with me as well is not attractive. And I do not want to create any circumstance where she leaves her dude to be with me. That's ugly to me. That's ugly. Either your relationship works out or be alone. But like, I'm an individual. I'm good on my own. Like, I'm creating life internally. Like, things are great. Like, I don't need to create life externally with people who aren't creating life internally in close to the same way that I am. That's not healthy for me. All right. I'm not so lost in my desire that I do things that aren't healthy for me just because I want to connect with who? With you? Who are you? I know me. Bro, yeah, see? That's just where this reality is not very quote unquote spiritual in that regard, as in people just aren't emotionally intelligent. They're not aware of themselves in that way to not run away into relationships. And it's also, I assume, bred by Disney. All right, we've all been conditioned through Disney, through all those princess movies and like just like all the fantasy European stories that were animated and turned into kids shows and kids movies and kids content, condition us to believe that we need to find our other half. So they're pushing, right, one, the